What's going on, Badger Nation? We've got a very special episode, even though every week is pretty special if you ask me. We're doing something very exciting. We've never had a 4-person podcast episode. So number one, I'm stoked about that. Number two, I'm stoked that we have some heavy hitters on the pod today that from all over the world. Number one, we have Mansour from Incrementum Digital. And Mansour, I think you are in Toronto right now.
Correct. I'm in Toronto, Canada.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being here. We have Lewis, who is a PPC manager at Thrasio. And I think you are in Berlin, Germany right now.
Correct, yeah.
Right on. And I'm stoked to have Hamza Tanveer on the episode as well, who is in the Lahore district, way out in Pakistan. What's going on, Hamza?
It's going good. Thank you for contacting me and joining here.
So this is an interesting story about how we started this episode. One of my favorite new features of Amazon over 2022 was the search query performance dashboard. And when I was always talking about it, I talked about it a few times on this episode, on the show, and it was always like, but you can't export it. But you can't export it, but you can like copy and paste it in a Google Sheet, but that's kind of arduous. And then slowly but surely, I started to see multiple LinkedIn posts from each of you. And I was like, you guys found a way to get it into a Google Sheet somewhat easily. So we're all here to talk about that. So if you're listening to the show, we're going to talk about how to get search query performance data into a spreadsheet, use it, play with it, learn from it. We won't be getting too much into what it is because we've got other episodes that covered it. But I'd love to just go around and sort of like, what did you first think when you saw the search query performance dashboard, and like how frustrated were you, and like how you basically figured out how to get the data downloaded? Feel free to jump in, anybody.
Sure, I can start. Well, first of all, for me, it was pretty exciting because for the first time we are getting the first party data from Amazon. And of course, we all know it's about the search volume of the search query, right? We never had this. We always used estimate from these third-party sellers. So that was super exciting for me. And then when I realized that you see the impression share, click share, like sales share, it was extraordinary. Now all of a sudden you are getting all these data that you had never access to through Amazon. And there are so many use cases for that. We are going to get into that. So about extracting data, we were using HTML table scraper before, because in some cases we use that even for product opportunity tab, right, from growth. So before we had that issue, we found a way with this extension to extract the data. And as soon as this data came out, there was no download. What we already have that solution kind of figured out for.
Yeah, I've set up like little Google Sheet tables, like, they have like import XML features, like to get like stock prices or crypto prices. I went down a crypto rabbit hole at one point, but like, you could set it up, or like you learn how to like import a table from Wikipedia into a Google Sheet, all of that stuff. But like you couldn't do it with this sheet with Amazon because like it was behind a login screen. And it's like, well, you couldn't use a default like
Correct.
Import XML thing from Google Sheets because it was like tucked away there. So super duper frustrating. Do you have like a history of scraping? Is that like how you thought of it? Like as soon as you said like, oh, use an HTML scraper, I was like, duh, of course.
No, for me, I would say I'm mostly like Google Sheet nerd.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm pretty good with that and analyzing data, bringing the data. I always find a way to anything I want, same as you mentioned, import it to Google Sheet and use it. That was a pain point for me initially as well. I was thinking, okay, I'm going to find a way to program this and automate this without like doing manual. And still I'm thinking about that kind of make a macro or something like an extension that you click and it downloads everything week over week. Because right now, even now when you're uploading, you have to go week over week, click. There are some steps there. I'm interested to even do that automated in the future.
Right on. And, what I'll also do too for each of you guys, because all of you posted about this on LinkedIn, sort of saying like, yo, you can actually scrape the data from the search query performance dashboard and then like play with it in a Google Sheet. All of you had these posts. We'll link to all of these posts in the show notes. And like, hats off to you guys for actually sharing this, because like, this is like the community helping the community, right? Like, if anyone's doing this to like get clients, doubtful that a client's like sort of like knows so much about this that they're going to be like, yo, like this is how you can do it. This is like straight up community abundance thinking, like community helping community, which is like the spirit of this show. And like you guys are like embodying all of that. So like, thank you so much. Because I don't know, I have a theory that like clients don't even know what the search query performance dashboard is. Maybe I could be wrong, but I feel like PPCers and like Amazon marketers are just like eating this report up because you're able to do like such amazing stuff. And I feel like once I've shown this report to clients and they're like, whoa, that's the first party data I've been using Helium 10, like then they like really open up. So I guess to that point, like maybe I'm wrong. Has anyone shared this report with some of their clients? Because we're all sort of like client servicers here. And like, what has the reaction been when clients have sort of seen this data?
Yeah. I mean, when we started to share like this finding internally, so at Frasio, I mean, everyone was just, wow, this is really like the gold mine. I mean, this is literally the gold mine ever. And at so many different levels. I mean, we don't have customers, I mean, per se. At Frasio, we have brand managers, right? I mean, in the aggregator world. So it's kind of a different way of looking at it. But we also had people in the acquisition side, for example, or also at the marketing side from different and various perspectives, where we're all like, wow, so now we can literally leverage and see what's going on. And just thinking back again of our overall strategy from pricing to marketing, and also analyzing the evolution of the market, because you're also in the dynamic market. It's not like, I mean, I set up my price, I set up my CPC and that's it, finished. I mean, I call it a day and go back home and just wait for it. You have a dynamic market, right? So you have competitors and you can also monitor a lot of things happening. And how can you change and influence pricing towards a lot of different components, and how can you manipulate pretty much your pricing and adapt your margins, et cetera, depending on your goals. And look at it from a weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly, then at some point perspective, and seeing the evolution of the market and your position on the market at the search query level, which is very strong. So it really got a lot of people just pretty much sitting down on their chairs and be like, okay, this is really like big time a gold mine.
Yeah. And I'm curious too, how often you guys like check into this data? Because I think the way that I've sort of been thinking about it is sort of like using it in the beginning of goal planning, where like you sit down, you look at an account and you basically say like, it'd be awesome to improve our market share on a particular group of terms. Let's sort of jot down, because you couldn't export it. So like you would copy and paste it, but we're going to talk about ways to extract it much easier today. But like grab it in the beginning of a goal planning session and then like do a whole bunch of activity, like push it in PPC, like maybe optimize it, optimize your listing. And then later, potentially a month later, you would check to see like, did you make a ground? Did you improve your actual market share? Has anyone used it in different ways?
Yeah, Michael, this thing just brought a boom in my PPC stuff, in my SEO stuff. The day I saw this brand analytics option, the keywords which are attached with our brand and the keywords which are very relevant to our products. Like this search query performance is amazing. It gives you search query score. It's just like some ranks. It gives you some search query volume, which is in many way lot better than third-party tools like Helium 10, Jungle Scout, etc. One thing which I assured and I felt very advantage was to get a TACOS, total advertisement ads on sales, from on a search volume level. Like we know what is the ad spend from the PPC, all right, and now we know that this search volume has this much sales. We can easily extract the TACOS on a search volume level, search keyword level. This gives an amazing opportunity to many other things. In the same way, When I compare this search query performance report with the brand analytical sheet or brand analytical sheet, this gives me the reference of the CVR or conversion percentage, that my top 3 ASINs or my top 3 competitors have this much conversion percentage, and from the search query performance I can see that this keyword has this much percentage or my brand has this much percentage. Then what is the difference between 2 percentage? It's just like a reference thing. It gives a very good thing. Yeah.
Hells yeah. And I think one point to add there is like the benefit of the third party data was that it was easier to manipulate, and like the search query performance dashboard was hard to manipulate. But like after listening to this episode and sort of going through how we've pulled this data, like it sort of removes that hurdle that everyone was experiencing. I think Mansour, you were going to mention, did you have any other use cases on how you've been incorporating it into your workflow?
Yes, well, actually we do that. You ask about how often you use this. Usually with our client, mostly we have a weekly or bi-weekly meeting. So this is a table that recently we have started implementing, and every week, every time that we have a meeting with them, this is updated. We go over this plus our product tracking dashboard that shows us the tacos in parent level and ASIN child level. In terms of how to use it, I give you one example. We have this brand. They are having a great situation in their category. They wanted to decrease their spend almost in half. So what we are doing now, we are looking at, okay, when they decrease this spend, what happened to our market share? Because they have great ranking. It's a great way, actually, I wanted to mention this, for cannibalization. Always there has been this topic, what happens if you are ranking organically? What's going to happen if you lower your PPC spend? I'll give you one example for branded terms. Now, easily you can see, turn off all your branded terms campaigns, check your branded terms share, purchase share, see if you are increasing or decreasing. If it doesn't decrease, it means fine, your customers search for your brand and they are loyal, they are purchasing. But if you see a drastic change, that's one example. Or the other example is that for the terms that your hero products, the products that are organically ranking on top 4, right? Maybe you don't need to be on top of search. We never know. We didn't know the answer for this, but now you can test if you are willing for a week. Turn this one off for top of search. Don't be there, and see what happens for your market for purchase share, not click share. At the end of the day, what is important for us? That purchase share. Regarding the talk of, and we have to keep in mind, this is in account level, right? There are so many variables you have to consider here. We are looking at account level, all of your products. We haven't been able actually to check the tacos with this in search query level, because the source of data is different from the spend that you see with PPC. With PPC, you have product detail page, you have the spend there. Also, we are not getting exact spending search level. So when it goes to tacos, no, we haven't been able to implement it there yet.
Right, because in order to do that, you potentially, well, Hamza mentioned it. Are you summing up this search term spend? Like you're going in, you're checking all your search term, and then you're summing that up?
Yeah. So from search term level report, we can check that this keyword has this much spend, and then obvious in your search query performance, you can check the purchases of those keywords in a 24. But the cons of this search query performance, that it just shows you 24 hours framework. It counts your purchases in 24 hours. If the purchases is out that time frame of 24 hours, it doesn't count it. It's a con. It's not an advantage. So yeah, on the tacos level, we do take from the ad spend from the search term level report, and then check and then take the purchases data from the search query performance report and extract the tacos.
Just a side note here, Hamza, is that the PPC that we see, we are getting the spent in product detail pages, right? You are getting so many impression there, spend there, but in search query performance, those purchases are not exact. These purchases coming through the search funnel, the search result pages. But that,
It's not an advantage. Yeah.
Yeah, total ACOS values is such an interesting thing where, the more granular you try to get, like what's my total ACOS per product? What's my total ACOS per keyword? What's my total ACOS per search query? Like the accuracy gets a little murkier, like you're like trying to go scuba diving in the mud or something, and it's hard to find. So gentlemen, let's jump into the practical, like the whole point that we're trying to solve for with this episode is really like, we've already talked about what you can do once you're more easily able to download it. Such amazing insight that you can get. The hard part is actually, well, potentially what was previously not mentioned on this show is, of course, getting the data from the screen, from the brand analytics search query performance page, downloaded, put somewhere. And quick survey, almost all of us talked about putting it in Google Sheets. I always am curious, Lewis, Google Sheets or Excel? What are you using more throughout the day?
Google Sheets, for the very simple reason that it's easier, to share around, but it's also more, it's just faster.
Hells yeah. Hamza, how about you? Google Sheets or Excel throughout the day?
Google Sheets.
Mansour?
Definitely Google Sheets, because it is, I would say it is stronger. There are some functions that Excel doesn't have, and it makes your life much easier.
Yeah, I concur 1,000%. Sometimes when someone sends me a Google Sheet, someone sends me an Excel spreadsheet, and they mention they've been working so hard in this Excel spreadsheet, I'm like, you are missing out. For sure. So let's actually talk about this. So what was the HTML scraper that was mentioned? And if anyone wants to explain what an HTML scraper is for those that don't know. Is this thing on?
Yes, I think Lewis wanna go ahead.
Yeah, I just shared it in our chat here. But so once Mansour pretty much shared this great Google Chrome extension tool. It just turned out to be magic, because then afterwards it was just all about including the data in those Google Sheets and manipulating the data around. And so I've been playing around, with this tool also, with different other various reports, including the new version of the product Opportunity Explorer, which is also the second extra gold mine. So then afterwards you can fetch the data in both ways, and then it turns to magic, because you get two different sides of things, and especially with the search conversion rate percentage of a search volume, plus the search volume, of a term over time. And then you can see you versus the market pretty much, and how it goes. It turns even deeper, and you just go deeper down the rabbit hole and just looking at where do I stand on the market over time, because most of the time you have the reaction of, okay, we were so good in Q1 and in Q2 it's getting lower. What happened? And then when you look at the average price, or the median price that you had from the search query performance report, and then you fetch the two of them with the product Opportunity Explorer, and when you look at the average price of the market that was either dropping or going higher, or you had maybe more competitors on the market, then you start to understand that at some point somebody was eating your lunch, or pretty much the market and the demand might also go down, because this can also happen, that the conversion rate percentage overall of the market and the consumer is just simply going down. There is more demand, but the demand is going down. So it's not like you didn't do a great job. Your ACOS was great. The others were going fine. All your metrics look good from the overall perspective, but you still don't understand. You have the best seller badge, but your orders keep on going down. And then once you get this second part of the data from the Product Opportunity Explorer, you start to understand that, actually the market is just slowly dying. It's actually happening, with few brands, where we just started to realize that some ASINs are pretty much reaching the end of the product life cycle, and the market is changing overall, right?
Yeah, it's such a common thing that I see sometimes where people's market share is changing. They're either increasing or decreasing it. And then without knowledge of that, they go into their PPC campaigns and they start making a bunch of changes where it's possible that maybe the market is shrinking. You're going into a slow season. People just didn't buy as much. It's a pre-Prime Day slump. It's a post-Prime Day slump. So like being able to recognize on a week by week basis, like what the market is doing will save you from potentially like having a false positives or false negatives when you're making your changes. Also, I think what I've gathered here is like Mansour, like I think everyone's like putting these into a spreadsheet, a Google Sheet, but you've created like an entire, like your spreadsheet is beefy AF, which I is an acronym that I don't know translates to everywhere where everyone is, but it's like it's very robust. And I think you mentioned when we were going into this episode that you'd be down to maybe share your screen and walk us through it. So for everyone listening, stay safe while you're driving. But we're going to put this up on YouTube as well. And if you are on YouTube, like let's check this out. Mansour, do you want to maybe walk through that? So basically like the inception point, the inception point is you're able to scrape it quickly, right? Like you hit a button on the HTML scraper. And also shout out to WTAULU, who is the developer of the free Chrome extension to allow us to scrape this. Shout out to him. We'll also link to the HTML scraper. But what's also cool too is it just allows you to download it very quickly. So you could just stop there. You could just be like, let me grab it, put it in a Google Sheet, grab it, put it in a Google Sheet. And then you can do some cool things like combine date ranges or do some cool comparison. But if you're looking at the screen now, Mansour just pulled up. I've got graphs, charts, I've got a whole bunch of stuff. So walk us through this. This is awesome.
Okay, great. Yeah, sure. I'll be happy to. I'm going to take a step back. Let's go to brand analytics from here, just to show how you can download this. For me, most of the time, what I do is downloading based on the week on a weekly basis, right? And when I'm downloading, I make sure to go to 100 rows because Amazon gives you 1,000 rows for this, 1,000 search queries. And from here, easily you can start with this HTML table scraper, upload it. And for the first time, I go as far as back that I can, maybe for 10 weeks or 6 weeks. It's up to you how far you want to go back. So the next step would be just to paste the data here. As you can see in my screen, I've started from the last available week, which is week 33. I paste the data here, and this should be manual because when you are taking the data, Amazon, that table doesn't have the week number. You need to add the week number to kind of use the pivot table to pinpoint the search terms to that related week. For the sake of this video, I downloaded 200 terms, as you see here, and I have downloaded 3 weeks. So what you can see here is in this table, you see all the search terms based on different weeks. Right now, it is 33, 32, 31, and 30. For each week, I'm showing the search volume, the impression share, click share, and sales share. And what I have here, it is an easy graph for you to see what is the trend instead of constantly looking at going back and forth to look at the numbers. You can easily look at these graphs to see, for instance, I'll go for knee braces, right? Here we see our search volume went up and now going down. Our click share, impression share increased, click share increased, and our sales share is constant. So also what I have done on this side in the middle, as you can see, I have the total orders for each search query based on the last week. So week 33 for ankle brace had 1,754 total orders. This is market orders, not our orders. So the brand that we are working with got 7% of this amount of sales. And also, I just added this here. I'm trying to understand. Seems like there is some keywords with high sales intent some keywords with low sales intent. So what I'm doing here, I'm dividing the number of orders by number of the search volume. I'm trying to see what are those terms that are important. Here, like 100% this makes sense. This is a general term, basketball. 14.65% is your orders divided by search volume. But when we go to, for instance, keywords with higher, I would say long tail keywords or higher intent, this percentage goes up. This is a concept that I'm trying to figure it out, what's happening. Apart from that, on top of this pivot table and the other tables that I have made manually, I have a table that shows you the total of all the terms that you have in below table. The search volume for the last week, this is the last week, it is 322,767. So this shows you the sum, and what I could do, I can say, just show me all the terms with ankle brace. Now this table is just filtered to ankle brace. Easily, what I could do from this graph, see all the terms that they had ankle brace included in them, what happened. Like if you see in week 30, the blue bar is our search volume. So the search volume is increasing. What happened to my click share? For this specific brand, fortunately, we have just one listing with different charts, right? So for that listing, our impression share is pretty straight. Our impression share is not changing, but the red line, which is our click share is increasing, and our sales share also increasing until the week 33 that it goes down. Now, I don't know, week 33 is accurate in terms of Amazon had done the sales attribution or not. If not, there's something happening, right? Because all of a sudden our sales share went down. So we have to look back and see what we have done. Is that a pricing? Is that any change, first of all, from listing side? If there's nothing from market, from listing side, what happened in PPC that this click share going down? So this is a great overview for you to see what is going on with that. And also, I have some complicated search ways here that I've added into this dates tab. There are different ways you can do the filtering. I'll give you one example. Let's say I want to say, give me all the terms that have ankle brace or knee brace, for instance. Well, they are not related, but just to show you the difference. So now you have all of them, either ankle braces there or knee braces there. Or show me any, because when you search here ankle brace, this shows you the exact form of ankle brace. It's looking in phrase, not exact, in phrase. Now I can say, show me all the terms that have brace coming after ankle, right? Between can be anything. So there are different ways you can search here to come up with the conclusion here with the search queries that you are looking for. And in terms of the use cases, there are so many ways we can do that. I'll give you one example. The brand we are working with, they decided to do a lot of deals, right? And then after the deals, few weeks after, we went back to see what happened when we ran those deals. What happened to our market share? Did it worth it? Did we get higher market share? How much was that based on the deal we gave, based on the price we have? Does it worth it or not? The other case is, of course, A/B testing with your images, with your pricing, with everything. And again, I want to mention here, this is in account level. You have to understand as well. Cannibalization is the biggest one. I am obsessed with that. Can you easily, for instance, this is a brand name here, right? MC David or whatever it is. If they want to check their market share, they can pause their ads for this branded terms for them, for whatever the brand is, and see what happens to their market share. Do they lose market share if they don't advertise or not? For SEO optimization, you can also use this for even finding keywords. I went to the last page, page 10. I saw like you have search terms that have one search query. So Amazon gives you to good extent, you are getting the search terms based on your account, how big or small is. You might be able to find pretty good search terms as well.
Mansour, this is amazing. This is so cool. You've even got like Boolean operators for how you want to filter the search queries of like and or the order of the term. This is awesome. So I just want everyone to know too, like this spreadsheet, is this the sheet that you have in the post that we're going to link to? It's the one search query performance analyzer template.
That is the one, plus the walkthrough will be, yes, in the email as well. The walkthrough video.
And we were joking before this because it was one of those posts that was like, hey, if you want a copy of this template, comment me in the comments. And I was like, well, we had already scheduled the episode. I was like, well, of course I want it. And then you got so crowded, you got so busy, you had to turn it into like a landing page. So like we'll link to all of this in the notes, but this is so generous and so awesome for you to share. And for everyone who's maybe just listening and not watching on YouTube, like you've got like week by week breakdown of a particular term that you can see of every single search term here. So this is so cool. Does anyone have any questions for Mansour here?
It's look good, man. This shit is like makes your life easy. It's just a simple comment I can make. When I will use it, it will definitely make it easy. A client's life and my life too. And the brand's life.
And just Michael, to add a side note here is that my next plan is to implement the search term impression share report here. So you have the search query plus the impression share rank and the percentage from PPC. Definitely it's going to give you more insight in kind of having this directional report on what is happening there, what you have here in search query level.
Would it make sense, and I think maybe Hamza mentioned this earlier, would it make sense to also pull in spend by search query or like clicks by search query? Do you think you see something like that getting incorporated?
It can be incorporated, but from my point of view, you can't judge based on that because as I mentioned, your source of data is different. If you go to PPC, you will see much more clicks in PPC than what you are seeing here because the product detail pages clicks are not here. So it might misdirect you. I won't judge on that.
I wonder if, because it would be impossible. It'd be such a process to get detail page clicks, even for keywords removed
unless you have a single keyword campaign for your main terms. You have the top of search, you have the rest of search, then sure, you can have this direction. Otherwise, for now, we don't have, as far as I know, I'm not sure. As far as I know, we don't have any placement report for sponsored product in keyword level. We have in campaign level. In keyword level, unless Amazon has updated, I'm pretty sure we don't have it yet.
Well, this is awesome. Thank you so much for, number one, creating this, sharing it on LinkedIn, and then also coming on the show to talk about it as well. This is, I won't lie, I wish I thought of it, but here we are. That's all. No, seriously, it's just awesome to see the community, like helping the community. So like, thank you so much for creating that. Louis, when you were doing this, were you able to come up with like a template similar to Mansour, or are you just using it as a quick way to pull it into Google Sheets?
No, far near. It was just like, a discovery like over time and just like pulling the data and just looking at it, from an holistic perspective and trying to make sense of everything and just trying to compare with the different data. And also like to come back also, with the PPC clicks, because of course, as a PPC manager, you're constantly trying to understand or trying to make a pattern and correlation between, okay, what is happening if I'm increasing my impression on the PPC side or on the click or on the orders, etc. But as just mentioned before, and we keep on noticing it more and more because we're using a a bid management tool that is Quartile at Thrasio, and it's constantly creating single keyword. So you can like have this placement data and all the different clicks at which placement, what happened on this match type and this keyword, etc. And for instance, I mean, with product targeting type of campaigns, so PAT campaigns, you just realize, and we realize more and more, that we have the type of search placement that is starting to pretty much get over each and every other keyword campaigns that we have, because sometimes the conversion rate is just higher. So the tool is just going to get like a bit more incentivized to bid on this side. So in the end, it's just getting more complex because those campaigns also touch the SERP and not only product detail pages. So it's going to get like very complicated to understand where did your click happen exactly on which term and on which keyword. It gets just very complicated. So I definitely follow and double Mansour on this, that it's going to get very complicated to understand the correlation and the clicks and also the orders and pretty much, I mean, the tacos and ACOS relationship on the term basis, especially because you're touching a whole portfolio. And if you have a brand that has a lot of ASINs, it's going to get even more complicated. But to come back to your question, no, I mean, I was very far away from Mansour's work.
Right on. I think we all were. So,
Michael, I just want to add something else, and you can get one extra information here. I don't know, for some people might be useful. For each search query performance, now you know what is the total orders. If you go to Brand Analytics gives you for top 3 products, what are their conversion share. So you can exactly now calculate what is the number of orders top 3 clicked products getting. If you want to see how far from you are from there, or you are trying to catch up, scale, get there, now you have kind of a scale to see how far you are from there and how you could get there.
Yeah, and the easy extraction of the data like speeds that process up, right? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people that would, if this data was very difficult to get and manipulate and play with, it's like, well, Helium 10 or Jungle Scout or whatever isn't perfect, but it's like right at my fingertips. It's like quick, I can work it into my workflow. It doesn't, it's not an arduous process, but now that you can sort of export it quickly, Search Query Performance Dashboard, put it into a workable template that you can follow week over week, then you can sort of glance at the brand analytics data for the top 3 and like actually truly know what the sales are. It's not like estimated sales anymore, which is also mind blowing. So it's like over the last few months, we've sort of like ripped open something that was previously like we had to use third-party tools, we had to like estimate, and now it's like right there. It's a little difficult to manipulate and get and download and put into a Google Sheet, but it's been made like massively easier with all of these things coming together. So like major props for knowing like where to look, what to look for, and also creating the template and sharing it. Let's go final thoughts of just sort of how often do you think you'll prepare a report like this, and where can people find you?
For me, LinkedIn, definitely. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. And these type of templates, there are so many of these templates that I'm usually making. And so I've decided every maybe bi-weekly, I might give away one template that I'm working on and might be useful for you guys. And also working on adding more extra information for the existing templates. Amazing.
Well, I hope to have you back to talk about them. They're awesome. Lewis, how about you? Where can people find you, and what are your final thoughts here?
Just like Mansour, so they can mostly find me on LinkedIn. I just have a Twitter, but I don't really use it, to be honest. At least, for PPC related topics. My final thoughts, is definitely that I'm going to try. Thanks again, and props to you again. Mansour, for all the knowledge. Not only on this topic, but on different topics on PPC. You're definitely one of the top references now, for me at least, on this side. And I will definitely use it bi-weekly or monthly to track down the evolution on certain edge cases or topics, like where I really need to have holistic perspective and not only stick them into a PPC perspective.
Right on. And Hamza, how about you? Where can people find you, and what are your final thoughts here?
Yeah, people similarly, it's like Mansour and Louis Doll. People can find me on LinkedIn, and definitely this session was amazing as Mansour shared one of its jam sheet, and I'm sure that God help him that he will be sharing every bi-weekly some new reports and new working, and it will be good for the community. Yeah, good for the community.
Awesome. Well, everyone, thanks so much for tuning into the Give Mansour Props show. No, seriously, thank you for producing that and sharing it. Thanks so much for tuning into the PPC Den podcast, and I'll see everybody next week. Louis, Hamza, and Mansour, I was so stoked to get connected with all of you guys. Thanks so much for jumping on the show and going along with this crazy idea of having a 4-person podcast episode. I think it turned out absolutely great. Have a good one, guys.